are working on Lesson 3, Analyzing Bivariate Data. If you did not finish last night's homework, please, please, please do not get stressed out about that. What I am looking for is that by Monday you have 1, 2, 3 all completed when you walk in the door. So if you need to take a little extra time on 2, and I'll make sure that that's in the notes, you have some extra time to look that over, and you might have more time today to work on that in class. As you take a look, because that was kind of a longer assignment, as you're taking a look today, you're going to be working on lesson I3. And lesson I3, the homework is looking at questions, and there's 3 pages that you're going to be working on. But the key thing that we're going to be looking at is what is a Venn diagram, and then we're really going to try and continue with those totals. So when you think about a Venn diagram, what it does is it shows all possible logical, that's an I, all possible logical relations. Now, when we think about those relations, usually the relations are going to be between a finite, which just means you have a certain number, a finite collection, so between a finite collection of different sets, usually you see 2. Usually 2 circles in a box, but it could be more. Could be 3, could be 4. And a lot of times if you think, what does your Venn diagram look like? Remember that Venn diagram, if you're looking at it, you might have like a box in here, and you're showing that where the 2 things intersect. This would be like with 2 circles. Now, again, today's notes are super short. It's this page and this next page. Now there's a short video that we're going to watch with it, but what you want to be able to do is kind of try and understand how you can go from a Venn diagram and get that information filled into your table. The key thing again today is going to be to fill in the tables and look at those percentages. So as we watch this video,
how can I use this Venn diagram to create a two-way table? In this lesson, you will learn how to construct a two-way table by interpreting a Venn diagram. Let's review. A Venn diagram is used to picture relationships between 2 categories of things. Each circle represents a category. The number in the circle represents the number of sample items that are in that particular category, while the number in the overlapping region represents the number of items that are fit into both categories at the same time. In this Venn diagram, we have 13 students with a cell phone only. We have 6 students with an MP3 player only, and 27 students that have both a cell phone and an MP3 player. A common mistake is forgetting that not all Venn diagrams will tell us how many people didn't fit into either category. And in this case, they have to tell us how many people were sampled. Here we're saying there were 50 students sampled. So in order to figure out how many students didn't fit into either category, we would have to take the sum of the people that are cell phone only, MP3 player only, and both, and we get 46. Then we take that sum and subtract it from the total number of people that were sampled, and we figure out that 4 students have neither. We can write this number off to the side of our Venn diagram, and this is how it will be displayed sometimes if the number of students or people or items sampled is not given. The relationship between a Venn diagram and a two-way table makes sense. A Venn diagram represents two categories, a two-way table represents two categories. So we can take this Venn diagram and from that diagram translate it into a two-way table. We know for our headings, we know that you either, if you're in the circle, the cell phone circle, you have a cell phone. If you're not, you have no cell phone. If you're in the MP3 player circle, you have an MP3 player. If not, you have no MP3 player. Then we just look at the numbers. There are 13 students who have a cell phone only. So we put a 13 here. There are 6 students that have an MP3 player only. So that number goes here. Then we have 27 students that have both the cell phone and the MP3 player. And then we were told that 50 students were surveyed, and we can put this 50 in the grand total. We still have several blanks that we need to fill out, and we can use deductive reasoning to do that. The first thing we're going to do is add up the first row. We know that 27 plus 6 is 33. We also know that 50 has to equal 33 plus some number if you look at the last column. So in this case, we're going to work backwards and say 50 minus 33 to get a 17 to fit into that cell. Next, we say, well, we know that 13 and some number have to add up to be 17. So we work backwards. We say 17 minus 13, and we get 4 in that cell. Now, all that's left to do now is just to total each column. So we can say 27 plus 13 equals 40, 6 plus 4 equals 10. Now, all of our cells are complete. We verify that 40 plus 10 does, in fact, equal 50, as well as 33 plus 17. And now we have a completed table that we were able to translate from a Venn diagram. In this lesson, you have learned how to construct a two-way table by interpreting a Venn diagram.
Now, if you did not fill that in from what you were just watching, you now know that 27 plus 6 is 33. You know that 13, and if we were looking at this, 50 minus 33 gives us a 17. We know that 17 minus 13 is 4, and we have 10, and we have 40 to fill that in. Now, the key thing is that as you finish tonight, you're going to have these data tables. So here, we're looking at, in this one, the number of pets that people have, and then we're looking at freshmen, sophomore, and juniors. And you're going to answer these questions, and you should be able, my hint would be, again, put total. And again, put total below here. That's going to just make sure that you get all the total numbers as we are looking at from each of these categories. And it's just going to help make life a little easier when you're answering the questions. So do that first, get those totals, and then you should be able to go through and answer the questions. There are 6 questions. Then they kind of have a table set up. Sometimes you have to fill in the table from the information. So here you're going to read the information and fill it in. You're not really doing relative frequencies again. We will look at those again. I believe one of your homework questions that you were working on does ask you to do some of that. So good luck, and hopefully by Monday everything's kind of making sense. And again, if not, make sure you stop in Mrs. Lee's room. She's down in the other team, and she would gladly help you out. She has a student teacher, so maybe between the two of them they can help you out. Or just make sure you're checking and going back over your work and looking at the answers.